All right, thank you for staying with us. We will be linking up now with Eshomomoy Mudu and Chibuzo okereke in our Abuja studio for the conversation around the petition that the people of Kogi West has submitted to INEC to recall Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. Good morning, Chibuzo. Good morning, Eshomomo.
Good morning, Veronica. It's good to see you this morning.
Same here, same here. You can continue with the conversation now.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us on this segment of the program from Abuja. The Independent National Electoral Commission has received the petition of constituents of Kogi Central Senatorial District for the recall of the suspended senator representing the district in the National Assembly. The petition was submitted with over 250,000 constituent signatures out of about 480,000 registered voters in Kogi Central, which meets INEC's requirement of 50% plus one. The petition presented by Ms. Charity Omoli on behalf of the constituent was received at the INEC's headquarters, Lokoja, by the Commission Secretary, Ms. Rose Anthony, and stamped accordingly.
In their petition, title submitted on grounds of loss of confidence, the constituents say, quotes, "We, the undersigned, being duly registered voters of the Kogi Central Senatorial District, hereby invoke our rights under the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to formally demand the recall of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan from the Nigerian Senate. In particular, this petition for the recall of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is brought pursuant to Section 69 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, as well as INEC's regulations and guidelines for recall petition," end quote. They affirm that Akpoti-Uduaghan emerged by virtue of an appeal court decision in October 2024, but say the petition arose as a result of their loss of confidence in her representation. For more on this latest development, we have with us in the studio a legislative governance expert, public affairs analyst, Chibuzo Okereke. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Good morning. Good to be here.
All right.
It's good to have you.
Thank you. Now, also joining us live via Zoom is one of the petitioners, Sandra Musa, who is also a member of the Kogi Women Development Association. Okay, I guess she will join us in the course of this discussion. So the focus is on Senator Akpoti's recall.
Yeah.
Now, since the 1999 Constitution became operational, there has not been a successful case of recall of any lawmaker. In the case of Dino Melayo, for instance, you had the issue of technicalities and all that. 5.3% of the required 50 plus 1% turned up during the INEC verification, so the exercise collapsed. Now, in the case of Natasha, how will this case be different from the trajectory we've had all this while?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, we have to recognize a number of issues. That one, it is the democratic rights of constituents to recall their legislator, either a House of Rep member or a senator, in line with the prescriptions of Section 69 of the 1999 Constitution. And the interesting fact is that that particular Section 69 never prescribed, conditionalities, except to the fact that the constituent said that we have lost confidence. So loss of confidence. So when you see on a petition, loss of confidence is not a witch hunt or a kind of any other thing, but what the Constitution had said is the requirement for people, constituent, to move to recall their members. So legally and constitutionally speaking, it's within their legal right to do so. But in terms of realization and the operational possibility of that is not a three-party. In fact, it is more difficult than conducting a normal election. Because if you follow Section 69, and then the Electoral Act Section 2, and then the INEC guidelines and regulation issued pursuant to Section 160 of the Constitution, and to the fact that it has 3 levels of heavy, logistically loaded activities. Starting with number one, which is that more than 50% plus one of constituents have to sign a petition. And people must know that a petition has been signed and submitted does not mean a recall has taken place. In fact, it is the lowest level of the activity. It's just an expression that we have lost confidence in this particular lawmaker and we intend to recall the lawmaker. If that happens, then INEC within 90 days, in line with Section 69, will have to conduct, if you follow their guideline, it's like conducting a full election to verify signatures. And by that guideline, Section 1 of Part 1, Section 1 up to 8 of the guideline, they have to appoint verification officers. The petitioners will appoint agents with their photograph. Even the lawmaker seeking to be, the lawmaker they want to recall, INEC will notify the presiding officer of that chamber. The lawmaker has the right to appoint agents to supervise the verification process, and it's going to be conducted across the entire polling unit. Now, the interesting fact is that about 474,554 registered voters exist in Kogi Central Senatorial District. In the 2023 elections, both candidates that had the majority vote scored a combined total of about 105,000, which is just 22% of the vote. Now, already we have 50 plus 1% of people seeking to recall the card. So when you finish the verification, which collation process will start from polling unit to ward level, to local government level, down to the constituency level. Before, if that is certified, which is mostly very difficult, but it's not impossible because we are dealing with politics. Senator Natasha, by the Supreme Court decision, scored 54,000 votes, while Senator Chibuzo okereke scored about 51,000 votes. That tells you that it was a keenly contested election. And there are political interests within the senatorial district that are pushing, now that this senator is having problem in the National Assembly, I think it's our opportunity to get back what we thought the court denied us, which is the political dimension of recall process. And of course, there is the economic and social dimension as to what are the motives, what are the push and pull factors, what is stimulating this. So it's not a tea party, but it's not impossible. It's politics we are dealing with.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like you rightly mentioned, the process of recalling a representative in the parliament is the constitutional right of the constituents who do not feel adequately represented.
Absolutely.
But why does it feel that people of Kogi Central are being criticized just for trying to enforce their constitutional rights to attempt to recall Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan?
Well, I think a number of factors, because probably there's a political connotation people believe, especially those that are not even from Kogi Central. Yeah. And people must know, no matter what we say or do, the democratic rights to recall reside not just with Kogi people, but those who are registered voters, not even indigenes, registered voters from Kogi Central. So I think because, first of all, we're talking about women representation, women are underrepresented, she's already facing suspension of 6 months, so that emotion, that sympathy is there. Why move? But there is a political environment that politicians operate in. And like I told you, the election was keenly contested. The vote, in fact, if not that National Assembly elections are won on simple majority, you wouldn't have had a winner. They would have gone for several reruns in Kogi Central. So that interest is playing. But the important thing is, this calls to question also the culture of our democracy. How entrenched is our democracy? On one hand, we want democracy to thrive, irrespective of the motivation or stimulation to this fact. When a democratic right exists, we must recognize it. The factors that are pushing for the recall, we can deal with. The economic factors, like people have been alleged that there was an empowerment process that turned to, a recall. Those are the political environment, that play. But whether it is within their democratic right to do so, it is correct. But whether they will succeed and whether the political literacy level in Nigeria, in a country of 133 multidimensionally poor people, at the rural level, you can expect that on their own, they will not just wake up and say, we want to recall. Certain factors are fueling the process, and maybe that is what people are crying about. But it's all about the political environment, the economic environment, the social environment they exist in. But I personally think that the process should be allowed to play out, and it's almost impossible for even the verification process to pass, except the senator is not on ground.
Well, Ambassador Okereke, who definitely continue this conversation, but that'll be still watching TVC Breakfast, and we're live from our Abuja studio. We're still talking with our public affairs analyst, Chibuzo Okereke, and he's live with us in the studio. Now, there are viral videos which we cannot independently verify, indicating that the signatures collected for Senator Akpoti Uduaghan's recalls were forged. Now the ball is in the court of INEC to verify and authenticate the signatures before a referendum. Do you have confidence that the Electoral Commission will do due diligence to this process?
Well, absolutely, except for the cost. You know, recall is not a tea party like I mean. It's a serious business, because it involves bringing back somebody that's already been certified through an electoral process, and which means the person may have maybe had a misconduct, or the definition of loss of confidence itself is abstract and subjective. And that is why the Constitution says these 50+1% of the people need to come. Now, the alleging that signatures were forged is immaterial. And that's why I tell people, expression of interest to recall is not recall. Just like expression of interest to impeach is not an impeachment. So we don't need to bring the roof down, because people say, oh, we want to exercise our democratic right, whether induced or not. So this should be clear. Two, INEC is the only authority that can verify. And indeed, in terms of INEC regulation, the verification is not just about signature people sign. It is going to be a full accreditation process with beavers, where you come out with your voter's card and verify that, because the petitioner's register, having established, becomes, you know, the register that will be used to confirm whether these 50+1% people really are registered voters within this. And when you even go to the referendum, you don't need to sign the petition to vote. It's open to everyone who had registered in that constituency, at least as at 2023 general election. You'll be able to vote yes or no. The ballot paper is yes or no. In other words, you support the recall or you don't support the recall. And the same process will be carried out throughout the polling unit, result collected at ward, local government, and then constituency level. So INEC result, people can allege, you know, carry all kinds of conspiracy as at today, because we're in a political environment where you have to create narrative to suit, you know, certain things you want the public to know. But the authority to verify through a beavers process those signatures and details of those who signed the petition reside with INEC.
Yeah. Quite interesting to note that it's going to be like a physical verification.
Absolutely, done at polling unit levels. And human beings will come out, not spirits.
That's interesting. Yeah, my thought is, we've never had a history where those who submitted names alleging, wanting a recall, have been prosecuted after discovering that names, signatures were forged. Do we have that system? Because if we have those measures that you can't come and forge signatures because you want to recall a particular lawmaker, are there not our security agencies to pick it up and ensure that such individuals who presented forged signatures are prosecuted to serve as a deterrent that you don't abuse a legal process?
Well, in terms of the frame of our laws, it's not established. However, if a constituent believes that his details may have wrongly or inadvertently recorded in the petitioner's record. You are the one with the locus to say my signature was forged and put on it, and you can challenge it. And those who perpetrated that can be prosecuted. Our laws covers that even beyond INEC. But you have to come and say, this is not my signature. I didn't sign it. It was forged. And indeed, because there is going to be a verification process, that even takes care, of that. Like you said, only 5.3%. So people who even move for recall need to understand that that is the primary step. That if after you have finished, because it's not just signature. In the guideline, you can use thumbprint. You can also sign, a signature. But the important thing is that are you a registered voter in that constituency that can affirm that I am part of this, and you'll be verified through a process. And it's not cheap. It costs a lot of money for INEC to deploy across the Kogi Central Senatorial District to do this. So I think our law sufficiently covered a situation whereby if your signature or your details were put in those documents without your knowledge, you can actually, challenge it. Yeah.
Well, the Senate says the Kogi Central Senator was suspended for gross misconduct and disregard for Senate rules. This incident was caught on camera and witnessed by other senators. However, could the focus on sexual harassment be diverting attention from the main issue? And this is not to downplay the severity of sexual harassment as a societal problem.
I have particularly advised and written to distinguish, I tagged her on a post that we have to, we know very well that the two issues are not the same. There has been an attempt to establish causal relation, right, between the sexual harassment that she's alleging with disorderly conduct. And it is not possible to do so because before the sexual harassment allegations came up on the 28th, the first time was on the 28th of February 2025, and through a TV station. The issue of disorderly conduct and unruly behavior had taken place in the floor of the Senate in the full glare of everybody. My worry was the reason Senate chose to refer the matter to Ethics Committee. Why didn't they take a motion and resolve to Committee of the Whole and look at the issue and discipline her immediately? What is going to be investigated in an Ethics Committee on a misconduct that happened openly? What are you going to be investigating in that committee when we can see that she flaunted the rules of the Senate, not once, not twice, not even thrice. We could see that, and that could be because she's new. She wasn't even there when the induction process happened. She came on the 2nd, she was inaugurated on the 2nd of November. For instance, I give you an instance. Somebody, you are to the order 10 of the Senate on rules of privilege. Any senator can rise at any time to raise a matter of privilege and be prepared to move a motion that a matter of privilege had occurred. However, she interprets it to mean rise up and start talking. Imagine if 10 people have matter of privilege at the same time and they all get up and start talking without being recognized by the presiding officer. The Senate did not seem to have a problem
at the initial stage. The issue was raised when she went to multiple stations to start stating her case. I guess that's when the spokesperson of the Senate actually raised the matter in the plenary.
No, when the issue...
So let me just choose so that you could react to it together. It's within her constitutional right to go to stations to allege.
Absolutely. Yes. However, if you're a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Constitution, the standing orders of the Senate, the Legislative House Powers and Privileges Act has given you sufficient privileges. Imagine if she did not say that the seat assigned to her was to emasculate her, hide her from the public. Interestingly, on the 5th and 6th of March 2025, when she presented her petition, she stood on that very, she sat on that very seat, right? And presented those petitions, and the world could see that that particular seat was not to emasculate her. It's actually in line with Order 6, 1 and 2 of the Senate Standing Orders. So if she had gone to that place and raised a matter of breach of privilege to the fact that she has been harassed by the presiding officer, imagine what would have become. The Senate will have no choice but to commit the matter immediately to Ethics Committee to investigate, and she can still exercise her fundamental right of approaching the court if she's not satisfied. But disobeying that rule was what brought us to where we are now, and insisting that you will conduct yourself in the manner you want, outside the oath of office you took to respect the rules.
Well, we have joining us now Sandra Musa, a constituent from Kogi State. Madam Musa, it's good to have you on the program this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning to you too. I'd like to jump straight into the matter. Why have you suddenly lost confidence in the representation of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan? Just her suspension is just barely a month, and you're already, recalling her. Where are her constituents already considering? Were her constituents already considering recalling her before this process began?
Thank you very much. Good morning once again to everyone in the studio.
Good morning.
Like you rightly said, I am from the constituents, and that is why we're speaking out. And we're speaking out as people who believe that we should be portrayed in a beautiful way, and as people who are law-abiding. One thing I want you to know is that our sister is very loved. She's someone that a whole lot came out to vote for her, and it tells how much she's loved and accepted. It's only because the way the issue turned out. If only we had stayed by the issue, which was my seat was changed. Why was my seat changed without my consent? Like I said some time ago, that would have, even for me, earned her a star. I do understand that sometimes when things are changed about you without your consent, it could give you some level of discomfort because your mindset would have been tampered with in a way, consciously or unconsciously. But the way the event is turning out is what is our concern. It's why we're feeling that no, this is not the way.
Issue of sexual harassment against the president of the Senate. Is that what you're saying?
Not, if you're saying the issue of sexual harassment, honestly speaking, as a woman, that is not something to be taken lightly. And if she has her evidence, we would stand by her, like we have always done from the very beginning. This issue of sexual harassment, it's a personal thing, and I would not want to dive into it.
Sandra, if I got you right, you said if she had remained with the issue of you changed my seat, that would have earned her a lot of commendations, but that the way other things panned out. Now, what we're asking is, the other things that panned out was immediately after the issue of seat allocation, it was the allegation of sexual harassment. So this recall process is a fallout. Is it a fallout of what she's saying about sexual harassment? Probably you felt embarrassed that she's making those allegations.
Well, if you're talking about sexual harassment, like I rightly said, it is a personal thing. And we do believe that a whole lot needs to be brought to bear for us to even discuss about that, which for us and for me personally, those things we're expecting, we haven't seen. And so I'm not ready to go into that aspect. It is a personal issue, and I will actually want to leave it personal. Someone can't be crying that my head is paining me, and you say, why is she saying my head is paining me? Or she should tell you to what extent her head is paining her. It is her personal thing, and so she has a right for that. We are concerned about the fact that her not being in Senate for the next 6 months is equivalent to 1 year. It's also going to deprive us of good governance. It's also going to deprive us of our voice being heard in the Senate. We also want a situation where we could get our part of the dividends of democracy. And so we need a representative. That is where our concerns lies.
All right.
This suspension for 6 months is something that is hitting us bad.
Yes. There are viral videos that suggest that people who signed this petition for her recall were financially induced. Also, the allegation that some of the signatures were also forged. Are you ready to defend these signatures? Because INEC will also verify them before a referendum is done.
Well, I think you would leave that for the INEC to decide. I am not working with INEC.
As the constituents ready to follow it through? That's my question.
Definitely, when it was presented yesterday to INEC, we actually pleaded that INEC go through the ideal process. We are not against INEC doing their job. We are not INEC officials, and so we cannot stand in there where we cannot stop them. We have done our part. They should do their part.
Okay, Sandra, just one from me. Now, you rightly said that your worry is for the next 6 months, the Kogi Central will not be represented in the Senate, and you are worried about that. Now, somebody will want to think that, don't you think approaching the Senate and asking for the sanctions to be reduced would have been a better option, because you said she's loved by her constituents, you voted for her, she's done well, and so you think recalling somebody that has done so well for her constituents is the best way, rather than asking the Senate that this punishment, sanction on her is heavy, why not reduce it so that we can be fully represented?
Thank you. I told you that she is loved by her people. That was my statement, that she is loved by her people. Yeah. If you ask me, as a constituent, has our sister come back to tell us that this is what is happening? The answer is no. So it means that, as it stands now, she hasn't even come to us to tell us that, okay, look at what's happening. And then we can now step in and say, no, don't do this, no, do this. So we are also people who are watching and seeing the way events are turning out, and then we're taking options we feel is best for us as the situation is going. And that's where we are at now.
Well, Madam Sandra, fingers are pointing towards some prominent politicians in Kogi State with vested interest who are determined to recall Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. There are also widespread speculations that the former governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello, may be the man pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Well, I wish they would come to understand that you don't fight people that have grace. If you agree with me, the former governor of Kogi State has got a lot of grace. A lot has been said against him. A lot has been said to pull him down, but God keeps preserving him and causing him to rise. In politics, you will hear a whole lot of things. Do they have proof? Can it be verified? Can they stand to what they are saying? And where do they see such a thing happening? He's having his rest and he's peaceful where he is. I beg Nigerians to allow him take his rest. It's been a whole lot serving the state for 8 years, and I think it's time for him to take his rest.
So you're saying
let
that
Nigerians
no politician influencing this process with vested interest?
Sorry, come again?
I said, are you saying that there is no politician behind the scene, fueling this process that has a vested interest in taking over that seat?
It is not a constituency matter.
Okay, just before I let you go for in the moment, there was a recall process that came up on the social media where they said some constituents were gathered together for the fact that they wanted to empower them, only for it to turn out to be a recall process. Is your group involved in that process?
We would never do such.
All right, Madam Musa, just one quick one from me. Do you think don't you think it's important to give the senator probably a benefit of the doubt? Since you said you have not heard from her, her constituents should reach out to her to hear from her own side, before going ahead with this process in full swing.
Well, everyone has got their opinion, and so I would not say that your opinion is wrong. But I also make you understand that we also have our opinion, and our opinion too should be allowed to fly.
All right. We'll come back to you. Ambassador Okereke, you've heard from the constituent. This is a member of the constituent. What do you have to say in reaction to all she has said?
Well, I think that all I could observe is that this is highly politically motivated. And
why do you say so?
Indeed, no recall process anywhere can be organic.
Exactly.
Can be organic because you see, we know that politicians are weaponizing poverty, right? And especially in rural area where political literacy is very low, is very easy. And like you said, if truly this senator is representing you well and she's facing a challenge in the Senate and no effort has been made to reach out to the Senate by members of the constituent to say, oh, this 6 months is too much, it's going to affect us. However, I think the lady made an important point to the fact that, you know, in the classical proponent of the legislator-constituent relations, legislators are delegates of their constituent. In other words, you do their bidding and wishes. You relate with them. If you face this challenge, the first place to go to is your constituency to say, this is what I'm facing, this is the true picture of the situation. Because if you allow social media or other media organization or political opponents, they are going to be selling narratives. So for the fact that she has not done that, I think she should be encouraged to do so, so that certain people who have been sold certain political narratives to undermine her, we hear from her firsthand that this is the true situation of the matter. Rather than seek to be champions of the world, the first point of call is your constituency, and that has not been done. But suffice it to say that recall process is politically motivated. First is of PDP, you have to know this. The ruling party, APC, controls that state, right? And is also at the center. And I told you the elections were keenly contested with close call. So the senator, Senator Abubakar Ohere, was removed by court. I don't think she agrees with that appeal court decision. So the Senator Natasha, this misconduct in the Senate leading to her suspension will fuel, a stimuli for them to say, this is our opportunity to try to take back the seat.
All right, Madam Sandra Musa, I would like to come back to you. In the case that the senator returns to properly inform her constituents on why she has been making these moves, are you ready, to support her?
Let's wait till then.
But in the case that it happens...
That's what I'm saying. Let's wait till then. Of course, there has to be a hearing and understanding and discussion. So let's wait till that time.
Oh, okay. Let me come back to you in here. Some persons say the process of recall is tedious and that portion should be amended to make it easier. Now, do you think it's going to help our democracy? Do you think it's going to help preserving our lawmakers if the process is made easier?
Yeah, I don't think the process should be made easier than this, because in the process of solving one problem, you can create another. Already at the state level, there is no state assembly in Nigeria that is functioning. They have all been pocketed by the executive. So if you now say that, recall process should be made easier, then you are asking that the state governors, with what they are doing now, should wake up and even, rather than make you a rubber stamp or boys quarter in the government houses, that you should even go home. So making it this way, what I think we need is political literacy, high-level political literacy at the rural level. The people, voter behavior, have to respond to democratic principles. Voters need to acquire more power to know that indeed, in line with our constitution, sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria. Today in Nigeria, sovereignty belongs to politicians and not those who put them to power. So recall is an important tool because the representatives are the voices of the people. In fact, in literature, they are regarded as the voice, the ears, and the eyes of their constituents. That is not happening now, especially at the subnational level. So what we need to do is to empower voters to reward or punish politicians through the ballot, and that organic recall process can emerge when it becomes obvious. But that cannot happen if people are not economically empowered. Exactly. If there is social inequality at the highest level, people have to eat before they think about solving social problems. So survival it becomes their focus. And when somebody stimulates them, then they're able to come together because there is economic benefit to push for reform.
One quick question before I let you go. The Senate has passed a vote of confidence on the President of the Senate and his leadership twice in 1 month. Does this count for something?
Well, it's the traditional process in the parliament to respond to issues of division. When it appears that there is a division and people seem to believe that this assembly is not functioning or they are divided, this motion and the resolution that come from it try to reassure even the president of the Senate himself that your colleagues, because you know your colleagues can go to bed, wake up tomorrow, they are no longer with you. So when the motions like this of confidence are taken, it's reassuring to you that maybe you have not missed the mark too much, that you are still in line and working as a comrade. However, that also portends the level of perception of, problem that is within the Senate that elicited the need for a motion of confidence to be passed.
Well, Madam Sandra Musa, I would like to thank you for your time with us. I would have loved to ask for your final words before we let you go, just in 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Thank you very much. I just want everyone to know that this is not from a place of hate. It is only a place from asking for good governance. And to also ensure the world knows that women from Sandra are people that are law-abiding. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for your time with us on the program. Senator Sandra Musa, the constituent from Kogi State, thank you so much for your time with us. And also Ambassador Chibuzo Okereke, it was nice talking to you this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Well, that's our package from here in Abuja. It's back to you in Lagos, Veronica.
Thank you so much, Tijesu and Eshamomo, for that interesting conversation. All right, we'll take it over now, but I'll be handing over now to Olamide Odek.